So obviously, because it's spooky season, I've been watching a lot of horror movies. And I'm not afraid to admit this, but I've never seen all of the Scream movies in order. So I said, you know what? Let's do that right now. Let's watch every single Scream movie in order. I even watched the Scream TV show, and before anybody says anything, I know it's not canon to the original franchise. I just did it for the vibes, and I think I might make a separate video about this. So coming in at number 1, Scream, that came out in 1996, I actually genuinely enjoyed. I like the concept of it, and more importantly, I love how this movie doesn't take itself so seriously. Like, it's very rare, and this movie knew exactly what it was, and it stuck to it. Now, Scream 2 didn't really do anything for me, but I did appreciate how they did a time skip and not everybody was still in high school. And it was basically the main cast in college now, so I definitely appreciated that. Now, Scream 3, y'all are gonna say that I'm weird for saying this, but I'm not gonna lie, Scream 3 is my favorite out of all of the movies. And I think one of the main reasons why Scream 3 is my favorite is because it's the most creative out of all of them, in my opinion. And the reason why I say it was creative is because Ghostface Killer using the movie about the events that happened in the first 2 movies to cover up the killings that he's about to do was, it was just cool. And it was low-key meta because we were watching a movie about somebody making a movie that's based off of murder events. I don't know, I just really loved it. Now, Scream 4. It's the worst one out of all the 6 movies. I did not like it at all. I'm sorry. This movie is basically like the embodiment of the movies that came out in the early 2010s. And to be honest with you, it felt like a reboot or a movie that was just completely on its own, but just using the name Scream. Not only that, the person who was the Ghostface Killer in this movie, their motives were like very weak, and it's just like, oh, okay. Now, moving on to Scream 5 and 6, I actually saw this in theaters because my friends are huge fans of the franchise, so they dragged me to the theater to go see it with them. But I absolutely had no idea what was going on, but now that I watched the other movies in order, I finally understand what was going on. And I'm not gonna lie to you, this didn't do anything for me either. And I'm actually envious of myself because the first time I watched it, I'm like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. But that's because I had no idea what was going on and I enjoyed it purely out of ignorance. And everything that they mentioned, I had no context of. But now that I have full context of people's backstories, I'm like, oh, okay, this was okay. And I'm not gonna lie, this movie felt like a modern-day remake of the 2011 Scream 4 movie. And the reason why I make the resemblance between those movies is because this movie felt like a reboot, but it wasn't a reboot because it was a continuation of the original movies, but it just felt like a reboot. Now, Scream 6, for some reason, I actually liked it, which is weird because Scream 5 and 6 are damn near the same movie. But I think what did it for me in Scream 6 is that because it was set in New York, it like gave it some sense of like realism. And it basically explored the idea of what would happen if Ghostface Killer was real in modern day New York. Now, although the story was very generic to me, I found myself really enjoying the character dynamics. Like the character Mindy being obsessed with movies and constantly guessing who the killer is, but also getting it wrong all the time was like a very nice touch and it was funny. And then her brother Chad being the conventionally attractive jock, but he seemed to know himself. And it wasn't like the stereotypical type of him already having a girlfriend and then him falling in love with like the quirky, different girl. Cause he's always had feelings for, what's the character's name? Tara. Oh my god, how did I forget that name already? But him being into Tara since the beginning was a really nice change of a trope, and I really like that. And I especially like the dynamic between Samantha and Tara because we've quite literally seen their relationship develop throughout the movie, and that was a really nice touch. Now, if I were to rate these movies from my favorite to least favorite, I would put Scream 3 at number 1 and Scream 1 at number 2. Scream 6 at number 3, Scream 2 at number 4, Scream 5 at number 5, and then dead last is Scream 4. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be weirded out at the fact that I didn't put the original Scream movie at number 1, but again, this is just like my personal list. And I know a lot of my friends and mutuals who are into horror movies are going to look at me like I'm crazy, so I apologize. But anyways, happy spooky season, stay woke, have a great day.